The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for turning into Armed Radio. I am Shannon.
And I am Bill.
And we are your hosts tonight for Talk Live Paranormal.
And tonight we're going to discuss a bunch of stuff. Shannon and I have been talking, and we're just going to kind of go over. We've had a lot of questions sent to us, so we're going to bounce them back and forth. We actually don't have a guest, but we're just going to try to answer some questions that have been sent to us and try to see if we can't give you the answers that we have. Now, are these right answers or these wrong answers? Well, remember, paranormal investigation, there's no such thing as a professional because everybody's learning every day. But before we do that, Shannon, I got to tell you about Missouri State Penitentiary.
Let's hear it, buddy.
We were down there this weekend. First of all, anybody who listening who hasn't been to Missouri State Penitentiary, go to Ghost Hunts USA, get on there and come down and join us. It's a blast. We had some awesome times. Anybody who's listening that was there, thank you very much. You guys were an awesome group. The weather sucked. We had lightning and thunder, and if you want to do a ghost hunt and have lightning and thunder, first of all, it'll make you pucker just a little bit every time. I think it was Tyler that said, if you want me to go do this, make a noise. And by that time, the thunder clapped, and we all jumped about 20 feet in the air. And it's like, is that good enough noise for you?
That was perfect timing if the thunder was going off.
Oh, it was just, and then it lit up the whole building and the lightning, it was all just perfect. So,
did it stir up the activity though?
Yes, it did. Actually, so we we had a lady that was there who was kind of skeptical about things, and before the end of the night, she was so excited and scared shitless about what happened. We were downstairs. Well, they were downstairs in the psych ward death row. So that'd be the way bottom basement. And they were kind of, standing there. And she said she saw something move and she wasn't quite sure what it was. She thought it was somebody sitting on the floor. And then all of a sudden it took off down the middle of the hallway. And all she saw was two arms and a torso. No head, no legs. And it went up part of a wall and into one of the cells right through the bars. And we tried to tell her, hey, you found a crawler. So we all went, a bunch of us went back, and we were sitting there with a complete another group, and it happened again. And it went under a bed and just stayed there. So we had, 30
Was it
guests.
Going into the same cell?
No. It was going
Broke into a different cell the second time?
Yeah, so it kind of freaked all of us out just a tad bit. We had one of our investigators that was with the team had something happen to her that have never happened before. She actually was able to channel one of the spirits, went right through her and started talking. And it kind of freaked all of us out because I got it on video and was staring at her and going, oh my God, I can't believe we didn't know she could do this. We had never even tried that. And to hear her and the stuff she was saying, it wasn't her. It wasn't anything that she's ever done before. It wasn't anything that
Well, it's like our boss. It's like Tyler says. Everybody has a gift. You just have to figure out a way to use it.
Yeah, and that's kind of after a while. I started talking to him, and do you meditate at all?
Yes, I do.
I'm learning. I'm learning. So Andrew and Tyler both have been kind of giving me ideas, and Andrew gave me a couple of meditations to kind of help ground myself, and one to open myself up a little bit to kind of hopefully help see or hear something, because we have no idea what, like you said, everybody probably has an ability, but nobody really knows what it's going to be. Now, we got to jump upstairs to the women's area. Upstairs I guess it was called the Don's apartment. I didn't know this. Apparently there was a gangster or mobster there that was well connected enough that they built an apartment for him, but he was in jail and in prison.
Is that separate from the building? Is that a different building?
It's upstairs in the women's area, directly above, the main area where you come in. And
Okay.
there's a long staircase that goes up to just this. It's like an apartment, 2 big ass rooms. And apparently that's what it was built for, was for him. So he had enough money and enough clout, whatever you call it, to get them to build him his own apartment where he could lock himself in with his own bedroom and his own little living room and everything else in there. But yeah, he was doing hard time.
So it's kind of like, what's his name? Mr. Brooks. Mr. Brooks had his own room at the Ohio State Reformatory.
Yeah, it was. Shoot, I've lived in barracks rooms that weren't half that size of either one of those rooms, and for him to get that, he had to have some push somewhere.
Yeah.
But up there, Josh was up there, and he had the white box and a bunch of guests. And I was doing a lot of videotaping for Tyler, and kind of jumping from group to group just to kind of get an idea. And it's actually, I think it was one of the best things because it got me to open my eyes a little bit more to see how people investigate, how the differences in the investigators. So I've been watching that a lot and learning a lot on what I can do differently. I'm noticing some mistakes I'm possibly doing, and I kind of like it. But Josh was up there, had a group in what would have been the bedroom in the apartment, had the white box going, and I'm videotaping, and all of a sudden I get a call, come over to this other area over my earpiece. So I left. When I came back, the group was done. The 45 minutes was over for their vigil. And they were all grabbing me and shaking me, like, "Oh my God, you missed it! You left too soon." I mean, they were freaking out. They were like, everybody was so excited. Apparently, one of the guests,
probably because you walked away with the camera.
It could have been, but Josh said that one of the guests said, "Do you want me to pray with you?" And they started doing a prayer,
Lord's Prayer.
And I guess they went, "Our Father who art in heaven," and over the box, it finished the entire prayer. Just nonstop.
What? And you missed it. You weren't there with the camera.
The whole damn thing pissed me off.
At least the guest got an awesome experience with that.
Yes, that was a great one. Had someone, we were in a group in the dungeon, and one of the cops was down there, and he, because we always have officers there. Right. And he's standing there right next to a lady, and something grabbed the lady. She jumped and grabbed him, and I think he spouted about 25 more gray hairs and jumped about 7 feet in the air. I got all that on video, and all you can see his lips move, and he goes, "You scared the shit out of me."
Oh my God!
So that was awesome. There was some EVPs. Tyler's doing this thing now where, you buy a t-shirt, you get your name put in a drawing, and then for the last vigil, whoever wins, that one person and no more than 3 other guests go down for a private vigil with Tyler down at the gas chamber, which was awesome. So they got private time with him down there, and they were doing some EVPs, and one of them he gave the Pandora box to the guest and said, he showed him how to work it and explained to him what was gonna, how it's voice activated. So if you're seeing the little red light just blink, that means it's sensing. And when it stays on, that means somebody's talking. So the guest asked a question that I would have never have thought to ask down there. He asked, "Do you want to go home?" And in almost like a crying voice, when we played it back, it said, "Yes." It was.
That just made the hair stand up on my arms.
It was really freaky. So, enough about me and my experience down there, because I don't want to give a lot away for people that need to go there. You got to come. But I have Shannon on my desk, my computer.
Well, that's the thing. We can't guarantee that they'll have experiences like that. They just you happen to have a good group this weekend.
I know, but I don't want to give people just got to go. They got to give it a shot. Come on. Get with it, peoples. I have a bunch of questions that are sitting on my computer, of people who have been sending in questions and trying to ask questions of, hey, what about this? What about that? So I want to read some of these questions and see if we can answer them. we know we've got a bunch of guys.
Are you reading the 10 that you had earlier?
Oh no, I got yours up first. We got. Who are these for?
Okay, well, before you start reading those questions, this is for the guys, Henry and all the guys that are listening to us over their intercom at work. They sent those questions in, so we're going to give a big shout out to all you guys listening out there.
God?
Thank you, Henry, and everybody listening.
Hey, Henry, that guy to your left, tell him to get back to work. He's not doing anything. So some of the questions are pretty straightforward, and I'm hoping we have the same answers on them, but I'm kind of curious on some of these. So I'm going to start off with just write down the list, and it says they wanted to know if ghosts could protect them from danger, like a family member or a close one. For example, if they're in a really bad car accident.
I feel that yes. I've seen enough videos. I know there's fake videos out there too, but I've seen some pretty crazy videos on YouTube that are, God, they're so unexplainable. Where, I mean, even if it's saving somebody from getting hit by a car, I truly believe that there are past loved ones that are watching over us.
See, and I'm kind of different. I agree there's something there, but I don't know if it's past loved ones or is it. I guess I've heard both sides of it, and could it be like our spirit guides, which
that too
may not be our loved ones. I don't know I know loved ones can come back, and I know they can talk. And somebody said, well, why are they stuck here? I'm not guaranteeing they're stuck here. I'm just, can they come back and help us? I think so in a way, but I think it's more of the spirit guides that we have, because I believe we have a lot of spirit guides, and it just depends on the situation you're in of which one's going to come through and help you.
Right.
I believe the spirit guides are sent from something else. They're attached to us for another reason. The family members are always going to be attached to us, but our spirit guides are, we have when we're little, we have spirit guides that help us with certain things. When you're down on your luck and your brain's about ready to go bonkers, like you're sitting at work, or like the guys in the warehouse that aren't doing anything right now, but listening to us.
Right.
Now they're all running around. Is it our guides that are helping us, or is it a family? I don't know. I'm leaning more towards the guides other than the families. I think like I said, I think the families will come talk to us, but I think the spirit guides are more of what are the helpful ones. And that's my opinion.
Right. I don't disagree with that at all.
So, if you want to call in and talk to us and ask us a question, we're still figuring this whole phone call thing out. So, Shannon, you want to give them the number for the call in?
Yeah, the number is 1-800-508-5431.
So if you're out there and you want to give us a call, give us a buzz, and we'll try to answer questions. So next question. They wanted to know if a dog or a cat can see a ghost or know something is there that we can't see or we can't feel. What about animals? Do you think they can see them?
I absolutely believe that animals can see them. To me, it's not much different than a child having an imaginary friend.
I agree 100%. There's something there. Animals can feel. Animals have stronger senses, whether it be their eyes or their nose or their hearing. I believe they can see. They see a lot more, hear a lot more. We've had dogs before that. When we had our dogs here at the house, you'd hear something upstairs, and they stand there and stare at it, and then every now and then the one would just get that ridge of hair down her back, or Cody our black lab, he'd stand there and just wag his tail like someone was coming down the steps to pet him.
Right, and I mean, I think that animals can sense whether if there is something in your house as far as spirit wise, they can sense whether it's harmful or not harmful.
Yeah, and there's some of those videos out there where you see a little kid starting to head towards an open door, like a barn or another building, and you'll see the animal pushing away, but the animal's always looking back. Like, it tries to get in between them, like you don't need to be going over there. You need to stay away, and just no. So I believe animals can sense more than we can.
Absolutely.
And I've actually seen horses do it. where a horse will just be standing there and just kind of look, and you'll see him staring into an open stall, and they'll just freak out for no reason whatsoever, and they're gone, or something catches their eye and they're going in, and they get a horse. They'll want to investigate it. I think the freakiest one to watch is a cat. Cat, I believe, is.
I'm allergic, so I don't have the opportunity to watch a cat see something.
I've seen cats cats are weird animals anyway. They freak out about the dumbest things, like, oh, look, my tail. Or a dot on a wall. I don't think cats are that bright, but sometimes you'll just, for no reason whatsoever, it's like they either, like, again, sense it or see it, and they get into a fight or flight mode, and most of them won't run. They'll fight.
The arch the back and the whole hiss and growling thing.
And watch those cats just kind of go nuts. First of all, it's funny as hell. I love watching an animal freak out. But it's freaky in its own right, where you're kind of looking, or when you get cats and dogs we used to have both, and they're running around, they're playing, all of a sudden they both stop and they're both staring up at the steps. And the dog's growling, the cat's hissing. I'm thinking, oh, great, they're going to fight. And I come around the corner, and they're both staring up those steps, ready to fight whatever's coming down. And Kelly, my wife's in the other room with me, and we both kind of look around the corner like, oh, they don't like whatever's up there. Get them. So,
well, I mean, like the animals, how when you compare them to like children, like toddler age, or even 5 or 6. My daughter actually, and my niece, my brother and them used to live with us at my mom's, and my papaw had just passed away, and I don't know how long it was after he passed that the girls were sitting and coloring at a table, and they were just carrying on a conversation with somebody else other than just the two of them. And we went and grabbed my brother's wife at the time, and I don't think my brother was there. I think he was at work, and I grabbed my mom, and we're just, the three of us are sitting there watching them look at something sitting next to them and talking to them like they are physically sitting right there next to them. And then I think it was my mom had asked the girls, girls, who are you talking to? And both of them turned around and said, Pawpaw.
That's awesome.
So, and not to get off the topic of the animals, but when my mom actually moved out of that house, Beth and I went in with our equipment and investigated. I'd never felt like it was haunted or anything there, but we had just went in to investigate since the house was cleaned out and everything. And we did a spirit box session with the SB7, and Beth at the time didn't know my grandpa's name. So she asked, for a name, and it came through clear as day and said Jim. And Taylor at the time was only like 13 years old and was instant tears because she knew my grandpa really well. And then I kind of started tearing up, and then Beth looked at me and she was like, what was his name? I said, as I'm crying, I'm like, Grandpa Jim. And,
wow.
And then she had asked, do you miss your daughter? Which would be my mom. And clear as day, a male voice said, I do. And I still have these EVPs, and I played them for my mom. My mom was like, you need to go back. You need to go back and investigate again. And when we were leaving, we got an EVP of a female saying, like, are you leaving? And it was a clear voice, just picked up on the recorder. And my aunt had actually passed away in a motorcycle accident years prior to that.
Wow.
And so I don't know if they were together. It was kind of hard to give my mom answers, but when I played that back for her and he said Jim, my mom was like, you need to go back. You need to go back. We never did get to go back. But, to me, I think children, it's like Tyler says during introduction, and he compares that kind of stuff to like the movie Drop Dead Fred, with the imaginary friend. Yep. So, I find that children and animals are very similar as far as picking up on that stuff.
So, the other question these guys had, and this one is kind of funny.
Is that the third one?
Yeah. I'm just going to laugh at this one. Wanted to know how a ghost can scratch someone if they are invisible, and they can go through walls go through a wall, how can they scratch or push someone? Wouldn't they just go right through?
To be honest with you, I mean, yeah, it is kind of a funny question, but that is a really good question. If you think about it.
It kind of takes me back to that lady who was on TV a while back talking about having sex with a ghost.
Oh, Jesus.
How do you know? I mean, are there feelings there that we don't know about?
My whole thing on that question is I feel that because when spirits are, some spirits do have enough energy that they can push, scratch, and whatnot, but those that don't will just feed off of our energy. And I think the more energy that we, push out will determine whether or not they can scratch or push or whatever. But I have heard of spirits passing through you. When sometimes people say when you get a cold chill, someone will say to you, well, someone just walked right through you.
Well,
I've heard that.
I've heard it too, and now that I'm thinking about it, they're messing me up at work. I can guarantee you that because it's constantly happening there.
Constant cold chills.
Oh my God! You just sit there and you'd be typing along, just full body shiver and start jerking everywhere. Like what?
That's just the spirits from Edinburgh that follow you everywhere.
Don't do that to me.
Well, at least you haven't been to Sally House yet.
Had to bring that one up, didn't we?
It'll happen.
So I have a few more questions. I want to just kind of, how did you become interested in paranormal investigation?
I had a dream about that question last night.
Really?
Yeah, I did. For some reason, I had a feeling you were going to ask me that question. What got me started? How? Yeah.
So, how did you get?
Well, I had, I guess, what do they call that when you're younger and you wake up in the middle of the night and can't move and you go to yell and nothing comes out, but you see stuff?
A nightmare?
No, it's not a nightmare. I forget what they call it. There's an actual word for it. But I had that as a child. I can't think of that. If it comes to me before the show's over, I'll say it. But
okay.
Other than when I was younger, nothing really intrigued me into the paranormal. I always watched the shows and stuff. I was intrigued by that, but never wanted to just go out and investigate in a dark building. Until Beth took me to Crown Point Jail in Crown Point, Indiana, and that was our first investigation with Chad.
Chad Lindbergh?
Yeah, that was the first time I'd met him. She'd already had tickets and bought me a ticket. She was like, I don't want to go by myself. And the funny thing was, it took us 4.5 hours to get there, 7.5 hours to get home. I don't know where the hell we went wrong there, but we went and did that investigation. It was with Chad Lindbergh and Ben Hansen, and it was for the Lost Limbs Foundation, which
cool.
is. I don't know if you know Mike Couch or not, but
yeah, I know of him and I know what he does, and what he does for that foundation is awesome.
If you guys, for everybody listening, if you guys check out Mike Couch on Facebook, he what he does is help raise money for amputee children, to get prosthetics and stuff. He's a really, really, really cool guy. Really, he's an awesome guy. We've investigated with him a couple times.
If any of his events are in your area, please go, because 100% of anything he gets off the events goes towards helping these kids. So please go.
I think the one he's at the most right now, because I think he's owner or part owner now of Rhodes Hotel in Atlanta, Indiana.
Okay.
So they've been doing a lot of events out there for that. But the investigation at Crown Point. It has a bunch of cells, and they put us in the doorway of a cell, and Beth was in the doorway of the cell, and I was beside her, and she had her back facing, and she said, you know how when you first get scratched and it kind of welts up and it burns?
Yeah.
Okay, she had that on her back, and I looked one time, I didn't see anything. I have it all on camera, and we stood there for another 5 minutes, and then she kind of hopped forward, and she said, I feel it again, and I lifted up her shirt, and it looked like a snake had took its tongue and licked up her back 5 or 6 inches. It was I'll have to put that picture on our Facebook page. I still have the picture of it. But it went underneath her bra, 2 shirts, a backpack, and her bra strap, and went up her back about 6 inches, and at the very tippy top of it, it came to a V. So, I mean, it looked like the tip of a snake's tongue.
Wow.
And it actually had gotten worse within, like, an hour as far as welted, and you could really see it by right before we left. Yeah, so from that moment on, like, the next day... I told Beth, I was like, let's start a group. Her getting scratched intrigued me. Just from then on, we just started investigating. Post Town was the one we started doing on a monthly basis because it was her old grade school.
Oh, and she went there?
Yeah, she went to grade school there. And as soon as I told her, I'm like, hey, Post Town's doing paranormal investigations there, and with Daryl having the public investigations once a month, you know, we went in all night for $25, $35, and I mean, you can't beat that.
Oh, hell no.
And that was where we caught our best evidence we've ever caught at any location we've been to with that face apparition.
And that's a cool-ass picture. That really is.
Oh, yeah. I have it on the portable drive. I don't know why it made its way off of YouTube, our YouTube page, but I will get it posted. I'll clip it down and I'll get it posted on our Facebook page so people can watch it too.
Cool.
How about you?
Well, I spent 26 years DJing, partially in the Army, and when I got out, I kind of went over to it full time. And I've always been interested in anything that I couldn't explain. I guess that's the hardest way to say it. Ever since I was younger, I love old buildings. I've always constantly gone in old buildings. I always get in trouble for going in old buildings, to include the police a couple of times. So I'm sorry, officers, for every one of you that had to come pull me out of one of those buildings. For anybody who's listening and remembers that.
You were trespassing?
Oh, yeah, you could say that. There's been several threats, and then thank God my dad knew the cops because they talked him out of it. I could have spent a little bit of time in jail probably because I climbed fences to get into them. But when I retired from DJing, when I sold my company, didn't sell it, I just got out of it. My wife was already doing it, and she'd been doing it for quite a few years. But I bought a camper, and next thing I know, I looked at her and said, "Hey, I'm not DJing this weekend. Let's go camping." She goes, "I can't. I'm going ghost hunting." And I kind of looked at her and went, "You're doing what?" She goes, "Yeah, you're coming too. You're going to run the video camera for us." And that's the night I got scratched. Ever since then, that's that big one on the back of my neck. And I'll post that picture too, so everybody can see it.
And now you get scratched everywhere you go.
Hey, I made it through this entire weekend without getting scratched. Now,
you better knock on something.
A lot of people around me got scratched, but I didn't.
So my mom messaged me and told me that when I was younger, that she called it a premonition.
Okay.
She said she had them too. So.
Well, we actually interviewed my mom because I had multiple questions about a lot of things, and she told my wife and Michelle, the leaders of our group, she kind of told them that, my grandpa had it. He was always able to see things and hear things and talk to people. And my uncle, before he passed away, he had it. And my grandma and my grandpa always kind of said, "Watch Bill. Watch Bill. There's something there." And I had a very active imagination. I still have a very active imagination sometimes. And sometimes I can't understand why I got this active imagination and the things I think about.
Because you're a kid at heart.
I'm just a big kid. So it's when I sit back and I look at it and I kind of think, was I alone really at those times, or did I just feel okay in those buildings because my uncle was he passed away from a gunshot wound when I was young. Yeah. And I've always felt like somebody was always with me no matter where I went, whether it was in the Army or overseas or back here in the States. Every place I went, I've always seemed to have somebody there that kind of almost like they were telling me, move, something bad's about to happen.
Are you talking about your spirit guide?
I don't know. And see, there's where the weird part is like we had I'm a volunteer firefighter, and we had a pretty nasty fire about 5 years ago, and I'm the assistant chief, so I'm not allowed to go in anymore. I think they did that so I can't go in, because I was always the one that had to be on the front of the hose, kicking the door, letting the flame flash through me, and then run right in, because I'm brain dead, I think. But I was standing outside, and something just told me, grab the people in front of you and pull them back, because the wall's going to fall. So I told the guys, back up, the wall's coming down. And they all kind of looked at me, and they took 2 steps back, and the wall fell right where they were standing.
Holy crap.
And it was a big, huge wall. It's off an old schoolhouse. And it crashed right there, and they all kind of looked at me, and I went, I got no clue. I just knew it was going to happen. So maybe something's always been there, and that's kind of like we were talking earlier before the show, trying to learn how to meditate more, trying to get myself to either open up a little bit more or to be able to concentrate more, and maybe, I don't know, talk to whatever's talking back to me, or talking to me and I can talk back to them, just to kind of see where I'm at. And I love cemeteries. I always have. I'll go in there in the middle of the night. I'll sleep next to the gravestones. It's cemeteries. Is it weird that I feel comfortable in old prisons, old buildings, and cemeteries?
No. Because, I mean, most of the prisons I've been to, other than my experience that Friday night at West Virginia Penn.
You're okay with them then?
Yeah. I mean, I went back in that same area the next night. I mean, that was on the Friday night where it felt like I was going to have an anxiety attack. And then Saturday, I mean, I still got through that night. Obviously, I didn't do that area. That was Tyler's. That was where he was doing his rotations. But I think I was out in the chapel. If it has a chapel, usually I get the chapel. Because it's the same at the Ohio State Reformatory, I get the chapel.
What are they trying to tell you, Shannon?
I don't know. I need to go to church. I don't know.
Okay, so I just got a message. I just got a message on my phone. It says,
okay.
What can you tell people who are afraid of the supernatural?
To not be afraid.
Scares the hell out of some people.
It does.
Really bad.
If you're not, if it were like me before I started this career path, I probably would be scared shitless too. But, we tell a lot of guests that if they have, if something is touching them or, grabbing them or whatever, or pushing them, just to stand firm and be firm when you're talking. Don't let them know that you're scared.
So everybody that's out there that's listening, stand your ground until the point where you know that you can't, and then get out.
Obviously, if it's to the point like, some dishes flying across your kitchen and the cabinets opening and slamming and your refrigerator door and your food's flying out like Ghostbusters, I would probably bolt. I would probably head for the front door. I ain't playing.
If I open the refrigerator door and there's a swirly thing in the back of it and there's a big, huge dog that's looking at me, first of all, I'm going to sell tickets for a while until I can't anymore, and then I'm leaving. I don't want to rent that apartment anymore.
It's like just like now, we're having fun with it. And when you go out and investigate somewhere, you got to have fun with it. Don't take it too serious, because there are some places you can go and you will not get anything except for the sound of crickets in the background.
We actually had a guest this weekend that was down there, her and her husband, that were kind of upset because they said, well, we got one little thing, but we didn't get a lot. And I said, well, first of all, we can't pay these ghosts to do anything. I wouldn't even know how the hell to pull that off, first of all. Second, it's all about the energy of the people. She said, no, one thing that really upset us is we were hearing these noises, and we went back in later on, and we actually were able to figure out what the noises were. I said, so you were debunking things.
Debunking is a good thing.
That's what I tried to explain to them. Debunking is one of the best pieces of the whole thing, because if you hear what they were hearing is in the general population. Like when you first walk in, the steps that go up, so you're going all the way up to your left, they heard this noise, and it was a little pop, it with little slight banging noise, and it wasn't happening all the time. It just happened every now and then. So they started following it, trying to get closer to it, and they found a broken window, and it's just one part of the pane that's broken, and every now and then the wind would move it and it would pop back.
Yeah.
So I told them, I said, but that's great. It's something we now know that we can tell people. Because I didn't know it was there.
Right.
We can tell people now there's a window up there. So if you hear something up over there, you really have to investigate it and get closer to it to see. Now, will people go over there? Are they going to believe us? Probably not. They're probably going to go, there's something over there. We're not going. I don't want to get that close to them. But debunking is more than half of what we do. Well, like our group does small homes. We're doing one this weekend that we've been to once before. We're going back again to try to help this family out. So we try to debunk a lot of the stuff. If someone tells me their blankets are moving, okay, it's cold outside, so your house is sealed up. Where's your register, your furnace register? Where does the air blow through? Is one of the windows leaking? We'll go as far as taking a small smoke machine and blowing it on the outside of the windows to see if we can get something to come through. Yeah, or right. see if anything will come through. If we can't, and that blanket's still moving, then we're going to spend a little bit extra time in there and try to figure out what's moving that blanket.
Right.
Because 9 times out of 10, when you're trying to debunk something, if you can't debunk it, that means you got it. You've got something.
Right.
So debunking is a big thing. So anybody's listening, try your hardest when you're feeling something or something doesn't seem right in the room, or if you're hearing something. Push on the walls, try to rattle the windows, see if it's the same noise. Because if you're uncomfortable in the room, if you can make yourself comfortable by in the windows of what's moving, you're going to know what it is. If you go in there and you can't figure out what's going on in there, then it's time to start doing EVPs and taking pictures and kind of spending some time, or just don't go in that room anymore. Run past that room when you go down that hall.
If they catch stuff in pictures too, try and reenact it with the same type of lighting and everything else.
And take 3 pictures, a minimum of 3 pictures every time, because you'll see changes in the pic. If there's something truly there and you catch it, you'll have 2 other pictures to compare it to, saying it's not in the first one, it's in the second one, it's not in the third one, or
right.
whatever one.
Can never take too many pictures.
Yeah, definitely. So next question. These people just keep sending me questions. My phone just keeps lighting up here. Why can't we hear ghosts with our ears, but we can hear them on a recorder or a piece of equipment?
But you can hear them with your own ears.
You can, but a lot of times, people will say, well, why do you get it on a piece of equipment? So that's kind of simple, actually. A lot of times what that is if you think about it, and I always use a dog in comparison to this, and a dog can hear at such a high frequency that we can't, and at such a low frequency that we can't.
Right.
I always go like a scale of 1 to 100. We hear between 40 and 60. That's all we can hear with our human ears. Now, I can't, because I spent too much time shooting guns and stuff without earplugs in, and now I have this constant ringing in my ear that makes me wonder if somebody's at the doorbell all the time. But we hear between that 40 and that 60. A dog's going to hear between like 20 and 80. So they're getting so much higher and lower. And some of the equipment we use, like the, if you know anything, if anybody knows anything about sound, there are 3 different types of sound waves out there. There's sound out there. There's what I like to call total sound, which means you're picking up everything and there's nothing cut out. There's a wave sound, which pretty much is clean, but it's only going to hear between whatever frequencies that piece of equipment is set at.
Right.
We use some of the recorders, the 2 new recorders we have, the Zoom recorders actually go between, like, I think it's 1 to 96. So they're picking up everything in there.
And the Zoom it's actually an amplified microphone.
Yes. So but you also have MP3. Now, a lot of people know what an MP3 is, but they just don't know what it is. Everybody's heard of it. I got an MP3 player. I got this MP3 of this. An MP3 starts off by picking up in wave pattern, wave sound, and then it cleans it up. It chops off the bottom end, and it chops off the top end, so you just get clean sound. You don't get all that white noise. So an MP3 is actually more of a compressed sound. So when you're hearing it, if you get it on an MP3, if you would have had a wave, you would have probably gotten even more. That's the only way I can explain it. We hear at different frequencies. than what our machines can hear it at. And that's why we're able to play it back and hear it then, because after it's recorded, it plays it back at total frequency where we can hear everything.
And it's very rare. I mean, I've only had it happen a couple times where I've actually heard somebody that was not there with us. And I mean, they consider that a disembodied voice. But it's very rare for me to hear it, but I have heard it.
It's almost like if you anybody knows anything, and I'm going to say his name because it seems like everybody knows who he is, Steve Huff. When he and it's on YouTube, people check it out. When Steve Huff had his white box, and he turned it on the day after Robin Williams passed away. If you listen to what he recorded, the mannerisms and even parts of the voice sounded like Robin Williams coming through. It's kind of freaking. I'm a damn big Robin Williams fan, and that was a hard day for me when he passed away. And now we know there's more about him, that what he was going through in his life, that he just wasn't going to take it any longer. And then they tested his brain after he passed away, and he actually had a pretty nasty disease that can only be found after you die. But it was causing a lot of issues. So when Steve played the white box, we'll use the white box, and that came through. It's kind of hard for me to listen to sometimes because, like I said, I am such a big Robin Williams fan, knowing that he's never going to be with us, and we lost one of the best in the world at what he did. But it's amazing to hear the voice. So check that out on YouTube. I'm promoting all their stuff now. Get out there and check it out. It's amazing to hear what they have and what he caught that night.
Stan uses a lot of Huff Paranormal's apps and stuff.
I know there's a lot of people that talk about, Steve Huff, his apps have all been debunked and there's stuff programmed into the app to play through. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know. I've heard people talk about, it's all been, someone went through and broke down I got it on my phone. I can't remember the name of this thing. I'm going to look at it real fast. I'm going to waste a few seconds here.
Whether they went in and debunked his app, I mean, you cannot debunk a direct response to a random question.
True. It was the portal, Steve.
Okay, a lot of people use the portal.
And take it for what it is. There's no such thing as an expert when it comes to this stuff.
Right.
If I had to put somebody in the closest expert, I'm going to put Steve pretty much up there high on the list in some of this stuff. I don't know. My phone just keeps buzzing on me over here. What
you got? We still got 15 minutes.
Well, I'm going through these questions as fast as I can. When I get older, I do not want to know. How can I make this a career? I have no clue.
Did they say, how can you make this a career?
Yeah.
We can't even make it a career. I would say probably 75% of our staff have full-time jobs on top of working for Ghost Hunts USA on the weekends. It's not, I don't know. I'm part-time and I've been with the company for 2.5 years, so I mean, if I didn't have kids, yes, I'd probably get to work a little more, but
how do you make it a career? Drop back and punt. That's all I got for you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Go for it.
What technical gadget would you recommend to be a novice ghost hunter? Okay, first of all, I tell every guest, and every time that we have guests, whether it be at Edinburgh or whether it be at the Farrar School or it's down in the Missouri State Pen or wherever, or when we just take people along with us and we go to a cemetery, we're all
best piece of equipment is what?
Is us. You were born with some of the best ghost hunting equipment. Number one is truly your hearing. If your hearing's good, again, mine sucks.
Mine's really good.
Well, then you can be my hearing then. How about that?
Okay. I got that motherly hearing.
See, I'm built wrong to have motherly hearing. I don't have the regular equipment that a mother would. So. The best pieces, there's three. Number one, how you're hearing. Number two, your vision. But that one there can play tricks on you. You could be standing in a room in the dark and go, I see something. I always suggest to people, blink your eyes a lot. You know,
we suggest looking out of your peripheral a lot too.
Yes, because that's your eyes can play tricks on you. But your number one best piece is how you feel. And I almost say it's how you feel in your chest, in your heart. If you're standing there and it's getting heavy to breathe, you just don't feel right, and you got goosebumps and the hair standing up on its end.
Heart's pounding.
Yeah, and a lot of that is the fear of the unknown. It really is. It's a fear of I'm in a place I've never been to before. I've heard stories. You can listen to all the stories you want, but unless you experience something for yourself, a lot of people will listen to the stories and go, I'm never going. Well, why? Are you afraid that you might get the same thing?
Exactly.
So, go for it. Try it. Now here I'm going to become that little drug pusher. Try it. You may like it.
You might get a better experience than that person you read about. You don't know that until you go do it.
Oh, definitely. But yeah, those are the best pieces of equipment we already have. But if I had to pick one, I'm probably going to agree with you, a recorder. Some sort of record. Now, we're going to go old school, real old school on this one coming up this weekend. The old little tape decks.
Cassette recorder?
Cassette recorder, the little flat ones with the 5 buttons in the front. And we're going to use that. We were watching some of the stuff that Lorraine Warren did, and she always used a reel-to-reel to do her recordings. Wow. Well, technically, that's all a cassette tape is a reel-to-reel. It's something that tapes for on a tape, and it's clean sound. It's not MP3. It's not WAV. It's everything. Whatever's there. If you're going to catch it, that's one of your best things to catch it. And I suggest trying one.
Try transferring that to your PC.
Oh, that's easy. That's easy now.
Yeah. I haven't. God, I haven't even seen a reel for a long time.
Well, I've got all sorts of the DJ equipment still sitting upstairs, and I don't want to lug them big reels or reel-to-reels around. So that's what we picked up, and they're like $30 at Walmart. So we picked up a couple of little cassette recorders. They even come with their own microphone, an external microphone, so we can set up, push the play and the record button down at the same time, and see what we get. Because we never know. I say if it's not expensive and you want to try it, give it a shot. What do you got to lose? We use plasma balls. You remember those?
Yes, you guys had, yeah.
We use those all the time because they put off so much energy. I mean, it's pure electricity is all it is. We'll put them in a room where we think if we put a little bit of juice or a little bit of electricity into the air, it could help things out. I love using those.
And you guys can pick those up at Spencer's.
Yeah, they're cheap. And then you take them home and have a party and you get drunk and stare at it for a while and then touch it and zap people.
Even walk through the toy aisle at Walmart or something and just look at something that could possibly be a cheap trigger object. Something that a spirit can move across the floor. Anything, really.
Little cars.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it. Vaginal powder. You knew it was coming.
I was waiting for you to say balls, but vaginal powder. What? I mean, other than the fact that you can smell a spirit once they've walked through it, what the hell made you guys want to go buy vaginal fucking powder?
We didn't buy it. Michelle we were loading up to go do an investigation. I told her get the powder because we want to put it across the one doorway. And if I remember right, she just grabbed the bottle that was closest. We get there and we're all looking at it going, didn't you have any regular damn baby powder? So now we don't carry regular baby powder. We carry vaginal powder. Mm-hmm. Got to smell fresh and clean for the ghosts.
Oh my god. I'm going to go buy some just to go on my next investigation and take a selfie with it for you guys and send it to Michelle.
God. You have to. Please do it.
I'm going to.
We were going to try to get one and have Tyler autograph it. We were going to give it to Michelle.
Oh my god, that'd been hilarious.
What? what does it mean if a person fails to ever have a paranormal experience, even if he or she is doing all they can?
Well, it doesn't define all you can, because if you are the least bit scared, you are going to not open yourself up completely to have an experience. If you're in the least bit blocking it off and not willing to just go all out and try and have an experience, that could ruin it right there.
Are ghost orbs?
Not all of them.
What would you explain an orb as?
Okay. An orb to me, you can actually, if you go to a cemetery and just snap a crap ton of photos, to me, if you're outside of the cemetery, obviously I'm going to rule out dust. If you're in a building, an orb to me it's a bright circle. Some circles have different colored lights in it. Some of them you can actually see like facial features, not like just like the eye sockets, the face, the chin and stuff like that. You can see stuff like that in an orb if you get a good enough picture. But a lot of people in buildings, when they're walking around dusty buildings and they go to snap a picture, a lot of that stuff is dust.
Agreed. And a lot of the stuff you see on videos, dust moves in the same way air moves, obviously. And you'll start to notice that if you see a circle just slowly falling and it never moves, but it just not that it never moves, if it just constantly going in the same direction and then all of a sudden disappears, 9 times out of 10 that's dust. If you see one that looks like it's coming at you and it just stops and then it goes up and stops and then it moves over and then it goes away, you probably got an orb.
Right, it's not going with the flow of air. It's going at its own wherever it wants to go.
Especially if you get it on video and you see what you know is dust, and then all of a sudden there's a ball moving around in the opposite direction of the dust. That's an orb. I have a picture from Missouri State Pen I'll put on our site here in a little while, and I'll put right below it, I'll put a picture of an orb that we caught in the daylight when I was taking pictures out in Gettysburg, and it's huge. And it was actually the very first orb I ever took a picture of. And I took the picture. I have more questions. I took the picture, and I thought, I'll look back to the camera, make sure I'm doing this right. And it freaked me out because I thought, shit, there's something on the camera lens. But then I went to the next picture, was the same spot, and it's not there. So I had to call Michelle over. She looked at it and was like, it's 3:00 in the afternoon. The sun's up. It's bright, and you caught an orb. And it was my very first one, so I kind of feel special I caught one in the daylight, because some people say that's really hard to do. But again,
the one you're talking about at Missouri, is that the one above that woman's head in the doorway? It's got like blue tape to it.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got that one too.
That's kind of an amazing one. That to me is a good.
You can't rule that one. That's an orb.
And it's
clearly an orb.
It's got a beautiful blue glow to it. It's really kind of cool. What made you decide to become a ghost hunter? Well, we already talked about that. Aren't you listening, people? Come on. Not anybody who missed that one. Now you have to download it later on and listen to it again. I'm very curious about your paranormal investigations. Can I tag along with you on one of your investigations? Sure. Go to Ghost Hunts USA and grab a ticket. That's what I would suggest. Or I'm
in Ohio, so you will find me at locations in Ohio or Indiana or Illinois, and I've been flown out to Texas. But
or if you really want to help us out, you can go into Ghost Hunts USA and say, "Hey, when are Shannon and Bill going to be together at a ghost hunt so we can go there?" Get us back together again.
Well, even in our off time, if you guys want to try and go somewhere to a location for an event, or not an event, but just a private investigation or something, shoot us a message on Facebook. We'll see what we can do.
These are all questions. Okay, we're blah 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 blah.
Yeah, about 3 or 4 minutes.
At what point do you consider yourself to no longer be a novice and that you are an expert? Never. I learned something every time. I learned something.
Zach Bagans isn't an expert.
If you want to know our feelings on Zach Bagans, download last week's show, and you'll hear all of it. I'm not going to go into it again.
Don't get me wrong. He is very experienced. He's got years of experience, but there's no such thing as an expert, a professional in this field. Everybody that goes out and investigates learns every time they go out.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes we learn, hey, what I'm doing ain't right. Again, that's kind of what I learned this past weekend. There was a lot of stuff that I realized that I may be doing wrong, or I just missed a few things and missteps. Because a lot of times we do miss things, even on these big investigations where we're taking lots of people around. We might miss something. So, hey, listen, every one of the listeners out there, if you're ever on one of these investigations with us and you hear us say, please ask questions, please don't get real quiet.
Ask questions.
Ask questions. Especially, we did something I'd never tried before, and that's using the Phasma box with the headphones. Have you ever done that?
Yeah.
I've never. And then someone, who was it? God, she was on our show 2 weeks ago.
Ashley
had a guest listening to the EVP recorder live, and he was hearing things, and I never thought to do that. Just have somebody stay there real quiet, and they're hearing the questions, and then they can hear what's being recorded. And they were hearing things downstairs, down in the in the dungeon too, but down in death row. So the guy would just call out what he'd hear. So we were asking questions and get quiet.
We got 20 seconds.
Hey, everybody, I want to thank everybody for listening. Shannon and I would really appreciate all you guys listening, and thank you for all the questions, all the call-ins, or not the call-ins, but thanks for all the questions that we had. If you want to hear us or you have any more questions or want to see us, check us out on Facebook. Shannon, anything?
I just want to give a shout-out to everybody that listened and sent us questions. Keep the questions coming.
And you guys in the warehouse, now you can get back to work. Quit slacking off. Get to work.
They said they loved it. They're listening. They said they loved it.
So thank you guys.
Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks for listening to us.